Yeah, it's pretty bad. Well guys, last time you saw this thing on the channel was when we were just pulling it out for, the first cruise of spring, took it for its first drive, burned off some of the old fuel. We fixed the major dash peeling issue that's really common on these C6s, C7s, and a ton of other cars, and basically just got this thing ready for spring. And I haven't touched it really since then. Been busy with the Cobra, my '69 Camaro, the Mercedes, which is hanging out back there, and life just gets in the way. And unfortunately, this thing's covered in about 1 inch of dust. I've not started this thing in 4, 5, 6 weeks. I basically burned through the tank that I stored it with in the winter, and then put some E85 in, and it's been sitting. So I threw it on the battery tender a couple days ago. I've got a bunch of stuff I want to do to the car in this video. Got an oil leak over there we got to take care of. Some fun stuff like exhaust mods, but I don't even care. I'm probably not going to get to it for 2 weeks right now, but as far as you guys are concerned, it'll be a few minutes. But I just can't stand to look at this thing so dirty anymore. So sun is just going down now, so it's a perfect time to wash the car. So let's pull it, well, let's see if it starts. Pull it outside, give it a wash, and we'll pull it back in and talk about what we're doing. Oof.
One eternity later.
Unfazed by the Z06. this thing all over again. After being in the Cobra for the past couple weeks and driving that thing around, the clutch in this thing is so much lighter. It's a hydraulic clutch. I just about put my foot through the firewall the first time I got in this thing, and the travel's a lot shorter too, so it's like learning how to drive it again. Well, as I probably put in a little note, it's been like 3 to 4 weeks since I washed this thing and you guys last saw it. Could have seen that one coming, but ready to work on this thing right now. We're on our way to the auto parts store to get some oil so that we can do an oil change. I have not changed oil in this thing yet this year. It's July. I think I have 82.5 miles on this thing in 2023. Absolutely pathetic. So I'm going to try and pump those numbers up a little bit in the second half of the summer and the fall. We got to do an oil change. I do an oil change every year. This oil probably only has 600 or 700 miles on it, but I do it every year because we're going to have it up on the lift. We got to fix that oil leak that I showed earlier in the video and also discovered in the last video that you saw on this thing. I think that's motor oil. So great. So we're going to do an oil change, hopefully fix that oil leak, and then I'm also doing some exhaust mods in this thing. And by exhaust mods, I mean I think I'm going to build a completely custom catback exhaust for this thing, and we'll get into that a little more in a little bit. But for now, let's get to the auto parts store. I'm also going to get some exhaust clips while we're out so you guys can hear the current setup. For those of you guys that weren't around for this twin turbo build, the exhaust setup is basically manifolds to twin Garrett GTX 3582Rs in each fender, and then straight back through an X-pipe 3 inches to Borla attack mufflers. And it sounds really good. I don't really have all that many complaints about it. It's, you know, reasonable. I can talk in the car. I honestly wish it was a little louder. Maybe I'm just spoiled because this thing used to be a high compression NA LS7 427 cubic inch that literally like shook your chest at idle. Wish it had a little bit more punch at idle, but that's not as much of a concern as I never really liked the tips on this thing, the Borla air-cooled tips. So I got something for those as well, and I'll show you guys all those parts when we get back. But for now, let's get this oil, and then we'll get some outside clips of the exhaust for you guys that haven't heard it yet, and then we'll get to work. Woo! She loved it. Good at idle. Once the oil's warmed up like it is now, you can kind of hear the turbos whistling a little bit. Yeah, not bad, not bad. It's the tips that I'm not crazy about, and I don't know, I just want to try something new, but let's see how it sounds right now. engine turbo noises? I don't think so. Alright, let's get back, get to work. Jeez! I gotta drive this thing more. It's wild. See, that's what we're dealing with. Super humid out. This is where the Vet is normally parked and where it's been parked for the last few weeks. Floor is condensating, which is then mixing with the oil leak and creating a milkshake. So that's what we want to solve, at least in part of this video. Anyways, got her up on the lift here, which is a process, as you just saw with this car, because it's so low and the ZR1 extended style splitters. You have to drive it in, up on these wooden ramps that I made years ago, then jack it up, then get the lift arms under it, and then you can lift it up. So yeah, we're ready to work on this thing finally. Unfortunately, it is absolutely filthy again because it's been sitting here while I've been working on many other projects here, and it has not been covered. So I was gonna wash it again and just pretend like this never happened, but I think at this point, since we're about to be doing some fab work, it's gonna get messy, so might as well just wash it when we're done. But as we come around back here, like I said, and as you guys can probably tell, the Borla exhaust sounds really good. And just to reiterate, like I said, I got basically straight from the turbos to a 3-inch down pipes to 3-inch X pipe, 3 inches all the way back up over the axle to these Borla Attack mufflers. It sounds pretty good. Basically the same exhaust setup that I've had on the car since 2017 or 2018, I think, at this point. And I've always liked how these mufflers sounded when they were NA, but I don't know. I think at this point, like, I've got some very expensive turbos in the fenders here. Garrett GTX 3582Rs. Very expensive mufflers, or at least they act like mufflers in some ways. Anyways, I just don't really feel like I need these anymore. So I wanted to try this for a while. Like I said, I don't mind these tips, but it's hard to tell in this lighting. Let me see if I can get you in here. But they kind of have these like air-cooled fins. I'll see if I can pop a better picture up on the screen right now. Which isn't the worst, but I'm also not crazy about the rolled, the rolled tips here. I kind of like the dual wall ones. So I do like these, but I've always kind of thought about changing them. I always have liked the Corsa setup. I used to have Corsa mufflers on this thing way back in the day, and since then Corsa has released the Extreme exhaust, which is basically an even louder version. Has the awesome 4.5-inch tips, and you can get them either with black or polished stainless tips, 4.5-inch tips, and they sound good, look good, supposedly no drone. So I thought about doing that, but that's like $2,200. And my fear is that you do the mufflers or the turbos plus the mufflers, and then all of a sudden it's even quieter than before. So, and also, like I said, I already have mufflers. They're turbos in each fender right here. So I started looking around. I'm like, let me just make my own exhaust. If I want it to be straight piped anyways, I can do any tips I want, and I can do in any sort of configuration I want. So that's what I'm doing. that's what's in the boxes over here. It's been sitting kind of in that cabinet over there for 2 or 3 months now, but we'll get into that. Let's start with the list here. Like I said, I got to do an oil change, and I got to figure out this oil leak, which I think is the 10AN fitting that returns the oil to the pan, and I'll show you. It's nasty under here. Oh yeah. So I've been dealing with this on and off for like a year now, and I'm almost positive it's that fitting right there that goes into the pan. You can see the oil pan right there. I've tried tightening this. I've done an oil change since then, and it's been going on like this now for a long time, so it's hard to tell. But if you clean this off, the oil leak always starts here and kind of makes its way back. So I know it's not, the drain bolt or the oil filter. It's either the pan itself or the fitting or where I welded the return bung on there, which I'm hoping it's not. But I've got a 10AN fitting, so I can hopefully fix that line. Hopefully it's just the fitting leaking. Maybe I can snug up those oil pan bolts right there if I can get to them. I'm hoping I don't have to drop this sway bar. We'll see. But also got to drop the oil while it's still hot right now, and we'll just get after it. So like I said, I'm going to leave the exhaust for now. I might start to take it off, but for now, let's get this oil dropped and see what we can figure out about this oil leak. Moving right along here, we got the oil dropped, and I started to look into my oil leak a little bit. Let me bring you under. All right, so we got the oil drained, and then I think I showed in here I removed the 10AN oil return line that goes back to the pan. You guys will be able to see it. I can't get my head up there, but you see that? That's where I welded and tapped, or welded on the 10AN bung for my oil return. That's where I think it's leaking. And I'll put a thing up on the screen right now showing my theory as to why it's leaking. I don't know if you guys will be able, maybe you can. But basically I think there's a little bit of a groove. Maybe it was over tightened, or there was a piece of dirt or debris or something in there when I first tightened it. I think that groove might be causing it to not seal. If you look here at a new one, this surface right here is where AN fittings seal, right on that. So if that has a groove in it, maybe that's causing the leak. The other possibility is this Summit fitting is just bad, or maybe I over tightened it because I've tried to solve this leak a few times just by tightening the hell out of it. So who knows? Actually, this is the one, and you can see in the fitting there some of the paint is gone. So maybe that's it, or maybe the fitting's bad. Either way, my potential solution for now, I have a new fitting here, Vibrant Performance 10AN fitting, so I'm going to put that on here. And then also, obviously I really don't want to have to drop the pan and weld on a new bung. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some light sandpaper and see if I can smooth out that groove or whatever. Then we'll put this all back together and get some fresh oil in there. You guys can see I started to think about dropping the sway bar, but I think you need to like remove the A-arms and stuff, which I really don't want to do right now. And I was able to get to that fitting with a crow's foot or whatever you call it. Not exactly ideal, but I got it done. So we'll see if this solves our leak. We'll clean up all this. Then when we do the oil change, we'll start it up and we'll monitor it from there, and we'll go further if we have to. But I think that should hopefully take care of it. Also got the exhaust, the catback or axleback exhaust, the Borla tacks down. Pretty straightforward on these cars, especially when they come out in two pieces. The aftermarket stuff is actually easier than the factory mufflers. So no real issues there. The attack system is kind of unique in that the mufflers are mounted basically perpendicular to the direction of the car, and then they kind of loop over each other. Kind of a cool bracket that holds them together. So definitely nice pieces, but like I said, I got some stuff I want to try, which we'll get into in a second. These are off for now. Here's my oil. I'm sure I'll catch some flack for this, as I always do when I run Rotella, but I've been running this T6 stuff for years in literally everything and never had an issue. So I'm going with my Rotella synthetic T6. 5W40 I find is good for turbo motors, especially because they run hotter and turbos make everything hotter. So I like this. Got my Wix filter. So let's remake that AN line, see if we can't get that cleaned up, hopefully solve that leak, and get some oil in this thing. And then before we get started on the exhaust, I want to bring this thing down and we'll fire it up with the open X pipe. When I first built this car, I never did that. I have no idea why I never did that, but I've never heard it with an open X pipe. Probably is going to sound pretty similar to how it's going to sound with my new exhaust setup, but we'll see. But yeah, let's get right back to work. Let's get to work on that AN fitting, oil change. Let's keep going. So I think we're done, hopefully, with the oil leak as far as the underside of the car is concerned. You actually can see this return line way down there. But as I mentioned, I remade that AN line with the Vibrant fitting, also smoothed out and cleaned the aluminum bung on the oil pan itself. And also noticed that from the drain plug itself, a drip had appeared. So maybe there was a slight leak from there. So we ran to the auto parts store, me and Tucker, real quick, grabbed an O-ring and put that on. Then we just dumped in 6 quarts of fresh oil, new Wix filter, which we pre-filled, and completely cleaned the underside of the car. So if any leaks show up again, we'll hopefully be able to tell where it's coming from, and we'll go from there. But I'm hoping some of those things that I just did either vastly improved or completely solved my oil leak altogether. Now, let's start this thing up with an open X pipe. So 3 inches straight off the turbos through an X pipe out the back, or it dumps right before the transmission and the transaxle. See how it sounds, make sure we got oil pressure, do a quick check for leaks, and then we can get into the exhaust project. All right, here we go. Pretty excited, to be honest. Like I said, I never started the exhaust or started the car with this exhaust configuration. So let's see how it sounds. We'll just make sure we got oil pressure, everything's good. And yeah, see how rowdy this thing is. Sounds good. Sounds like a race car. Hear those turbos more. All right, so that's pretty loud. I think it'll quiet down or maybe tone up a little bit with the extra length when we bring it out the back, but you can definitely hear the turbos more. You could never hear them really at cold start. You could always hear them at hot idle like I showed you guys earlier, but at cold idle it's harder to hear them. Now I can definitely hear them, so that's a good sign. But yeah, let me get out of here. We'll just double check for leaks and I'll show you what we got for exhaust components. All right, well that answers that. Now we know what this thing sounds like with an open X pipe. Not bad, but I think it'll sound a little bit better with the pipes all the way out the back. So let me show you what I got. So I've had this stuff for like 3 months now, and as you can see, I've had custom exhaust on the old list there for a while. But I think we're finally ready, so let me show you what I got, what my plan is. Harpoon Summer for size. You know, we got some big old tips. So here's what we got, guys. So this is my idea here for my own custom exhaust. So like I said, I was looking for something straight piped, which these are relatively small, you know, straight through design mufflers. But like I said, I'm not 100% crazy, never have been, about the tip design on these, which is crazy because I've had these on the car since 2017, I think. But anyways, like I said, I started looking into straight pipe C6 options. There is a couple options that you can get, I think from Speed Engineering and from Hooker. Speed Engineering ones, I really don't like the tips, and I think they might have some fitment issues with the Z06 with the differential cooler, so they're gonna require some fab work anyways. The Hooker would probably fit fine, but it's like $900, and I really didn't like the tips, so I was like, let me see how much it would be to build my own perfect custom exhaust. So obviously most of the fab work would be, at least I think anyways, we'll see, but is the over the axle pipes. So I was hoping to save myself a bunch of time by getting just these. And what do you know, Corsa sells the over the axle pipes. I think I got both of these for $82 plus shipping. So like $100 for 304 stainless steel over the axle pipes from the Corsa system. Got these tips on eBay, which is the biggest part of it. I wanted the 4.5 inch dual wall slant cut polished stainless steel tips, 3 inch in, 4.5 inch out. The factory C6 tips are like 3 or 3.5 inch. Most aftermarket systems are 4 inch like those are. And then I think like the Corsa Extremes and maybe one other system have these massive 4 inch tips that should really fill that hole in the C6 bumper. So in theory, these will connect right up to the X pipe, get us over the axle and heading down towards the tips. And then all I'll have to do is connect from there to the tips. And I got some hangers here too. And with my absolute plethora of leftover 3 inch polished stainless steel piping, I should have plenty to fabricate an exhaust system here. So that's my plan. And the way I see it, I can sell this boreless system. I think it's like $1,800 new. It's perfect condition. I can probably sell it for, I don't know, say $900 to $1,100. If I for some reason don't like this custom system that I make, I can sell the boreless system for $1,000. Can probably sell that straight pipe system for anywhere from $500 to $800. And then that's more than enough to purchase the Corsa Extremes, which is, in my opinion, the best sounding exhaust system for this car, or for the C6 Z06 chassis with the LS7. With my turbo setup, who knows? Maybe this custom system I'm about to make is the best sounding system. So again, exhaust is all personal preference. Some people probably love the rolled exhaust tips. Some people maybe hate these dual wall tips that I have here, who knows? But me personally, I like them and I think this is gonna sound good. So first things first, I'm gonna get these over the axle pipes fitted up and where they need to be in the car. And then we basically just need to start connecting them, start doing some fab work, get the TIG welder out here and get to work. So let's get the car back up in the air, start making my own custom exhaust. Update, still hot and humid, but we're making some good progress on this custom exhaust here. Check it out. So first I got the tips mocked up here, welded them together so that we know they're going to be perfectly flat, which is the way the Borla tips were as well. So put them on a table, welded a bar across them so we know they're flat. I attempted to TIG weld the hangers on just by marking them. Got them up here, it wasn't right. There's too many variables. So I just threw up the white flag, rolled over the MIG welder, and then kind of tacked these in place. And we'll TIG everything together kind of at the end here. Same thing with these pipes here. This is hard enough to weld even with the MIG. So I just quickly tacked them in with the MIG. The other thing is my MIG has an adapter for 120 and my TIG does not. So anyways, these pipes are all from my leftover pieces that we had. This is one of them right here in the Speed Engineering 3-inch exhaust kit for the red C6 Z06, because that kit came with fitment pieces for LS2, LS3, and LS7 C6s. So I had tons of extra pipe. So that saved me some fab time as well. So, you know, bunch of trial, cutting, fitting, grinding. Got these two to look pretty symmetric. And then I basically just had to do a bunch of trials with a single pie cut down here to get that angle right. Lots of finessing and playing with this over the last couple hours. I didn't film all of it, but you guys who've done fab work know how it goes. Just trying to get fitment as best you can. A little bit of a gap up top there. I think the OD of this is a little bit bigger than the 3-inch, rest of the piping here, but no worries, we'll blend that all in with the TIG. So what's next? First of all, need to check, it should, but I need to check that this will come down and over the axle in one piece. I'm gonna have to remove this bar here that I've welded on. Might throw on a couple more safety tacks just to be sure. But yeah, bring these down over the axle, make sure they remove, in case we ever need to service this. And then we're ready to TIG this all together. I'm gonna clean up so I can get my head straight here and then bring these over to the welding bench, get them welded up, lop these off, grind these tacks down once we add some tacks with the TIG, make it look halfway decent with the TIG, and then we're done. So yeah, not too bad. I'm glad I have all this extra 3-inch pipe. It hasn't really cost me anything as far as materials, other than of course the tips and the over the axle pipes. But yeah, let's finesse this a little bit more, see if we can get those pipes down, get cleaned up, and get ready for some TIG welding. I could really use a break from this heat and humidity. Whew. All right, next day here. Got the exhaust all bolted up last night. Finished up the last few things this morning. It looks so good. I'm so happy with the tips. Even if it doesn't sound better, I'm just way happier with the way the tips look. Can't wait to see this thing on the ground. Come check it out. So here's the tips, 4.5 inch, nice and straight, nice and level. This fills the bumper opening a little bit better, and I just think those dual wall, slash cut, follows the bumper lines well, nice and even. All set to go there. Got the hangers welded on. Nothing really to write home as far as the TIG welds are concerned. Actually, probably some of my worst welds, but got a new TIG torch, was figuring that thing out. I had some fit up problems on the top, which required me to, put a bunch of filler in there, and I bought the wrong size filler rods, which made it difficult to fill some of those gaps, but everything's solid. I was able to polish them out. Looks halfway decent. You can't even see them anyways. All you can see when the car is on the ground is basically that, so. But hey, you're always gonna critique your own work. Anyways, so glad I got those Corsa over the axle pipes. That saved me a bunch of fab time, just basically these two things. Finished welded all that. Everything's nice and even, nice and good. Everything's all tight up here. So we're good to go, we're ready to start this thing. Might be noticing this wire hanging down here. Just had to replace my wideband O2 sensor. And I know what you're thinking. Hey Chris, didn't you just do that in the last video? And you'd be right. So hopefully we can get more than 20 miles out of this wideband sensor this time. But anyways, let's get this thing on the ground. I'm gonna double check the oil, start it up, see how it sounds. Oh man, I should have done this years ago. Oh, so much better. Looks mean. Hell yeah. Much better. Man, those tips. Leaks, it's good. All right guys, I'm gonna let this warm up a little bit. We'll pull it out, take it for a drive. Guys, we are out for our first drive. Just gave this thing a quick wash again, but I didn't film any of it because, 2 washes in one video is too many. So, first drive impressions, definitely louder. Sounds good though. We're on our way to Mexico to get you guys a few sound clips. it sounds at idle, and I love how it sounds at, you know, heavy throttle. Fortunately, I still have the street tires on right now, so it's pretty much spins doing just about anything. Oh, right there, yeah, 2200 RPM. Just stay away from that. Definitely getting pulled over. There is no way he didn't hear that. Unbelievable. You must have Netflix at max volume. Wow. All right, well, let's go to the other Mexico where there isn't any police. There's hot idle anyways. Sounds a little different in hot idle. That's how you merge.